So if you, there we go. If you guys want to disappear, you're free to disappear like the kids. Okay, welcome again to Thursday Night Art Teachers Club. We have been chatting before I remembered to hit the record button, and we had been discussing that we need to do this for ourselves also. So I'm considering once a month making art just for ourselves, and then once a month a lesson to take to school for our kids. So anyway, welcome back to our wonderful Jane Montero. And again, Dr. Jane Montero, congratulations on your PhD. Sorry if I'm repeating myself because I forgot to hit the record button. Okay, so we are doing tonight Winter Wonderland, which will be fabulous and can take us all the way into January, February. So I'm sorry to have interrupted, and back to you.
No problem. So yes, and I like how you say this could take you into February, because here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, it might take us into March and perhaps April. But at that point, we're so done with snowflakes. So I'm going to go over 3 lessons, 2 for sure. And depending on time, I can talk about another one. So first of all, I just want to kind of say how I come up with these. There is no rhyme or reason. There's no, like, sometimes I'm driving to work and I'll just think, oh, what if I mean, you know how it is. You come up with ideas when you're in your shower, right? Or, 3 a.m. kind of thing. And then you go, oh my God, I'm never going to remember it, So these have just kind of happened, and they've happened out of needing something kind of short and quick, but still worthwhile. I'm not a fan of doing crafts. That's just me personally. There's nothing wrong with doing those, but I just don't want to go there really. And I know that my students love doing things using Google Drawing because of the mosaic project that I do. And they're just really into it. And for me with 6th grade, it's kind of a great equalizer. I don't know what grades you all teach, but by the time kids are in 6th grade, they kind of look at each other and they're like, I can't draw. Therefore, my behavior is going to go out the window. And then those who can draw, everybody else is like, ooh, look how well they can draw. So for me, throwing in every now and then a Google Drawing project really kind of helps everybody be involved and engaged. And I have found that a lot of the downtime, like what do kids do when they're finished? I say, find something to do on Google Draw, or look at a choice board on Google Draw. So it's been really handy for me. So with that said, let me start with the Snowflake Project. So I'm going to go through these, and you are welcome to just watch, or you're welcome to do as I talk. Okay, I'm going to kind of speed a little bit of it up though. So you may get a little bit sort of behind if you're trying to do everything along with me, especially on the snowflake one. So here's how I did the snowflake one. I thought to myself, what if students designed one of those, I don't know what they're called. I call them spokes. I don't know the snowflake terminology, but what if students designed one of those spokes and then they grouped it together, and then you just copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste. And then the fun comes in when they actually do things like turn it into a gradient, and then they do a gradient background. So some of these you can see are just based on a snowflake photograph. Oops, that's not the right one, but you'll get the idea. This one. So here's how we start. So you find a good photograph. So I'm going to open up Google Drawing. And the key is I tell students that they want to find a photograph and not clip art, because a photograph you can get a bit more variation. It's not necessarily critical with the snowflake design but I try to steer away from clip art. I don't know. It's just a personal thing I have. So I'm going to search for a snowflake photograph, and I'm going to see what I come up with. And oh, look, lots of things. So I just say, find one that interests you and look at one that doesn't have too much kind of lacy lace, because it gets pretty hard. I think this was one of the ones I've used before. So I'm going to click this one and see. So once you click your image, yeah, that is the one I did before. Okay. Don't worry about the background because that's all going to go away. So the key here is to view, go to zoom and go up to 200%. because you're only going to design one of those spire-y things. I wish I really knew what that was called. If any of you know, throw it in the chat box, because I was calling them prongs, like all sorts of things. Okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm going to figure out one section that I can repeat. And I'm going to use either the Polyline tool or the Curve Line tool. It doesn't really matter so much, except when you look at this snowflake, this has a lot of jaggedy edges. So I may do a little bit of both. So let me show you with Polyline. If any of you are familiar with the line tools, so you come over here to the left of the shapes, and I'm going to go down and start with Polyline. And this is a lot like the animal mosaics. You're just drawing right on top of these, whatever you see. So I'm over here on the right, and you'll see in a minute what I'm doing. I'm just clicking, and I'm going to let that stay blue so I can see what I've done. But I am going to get rid of the border, because that I want to get rid of that anyway when it's done. So students that have any kind of like vision issues here, I tell them they may want to pick a color that they can really see, not to make themselves crazy, but pick a color that can really show up. So a lot of times, you know, I'll say, what color can you see? Can you see red? Because I do have a student that's color sensitive. So that way you can see, because it's hard when you're drawing on top of this. Okay, so then you just go back. I'm going to have to change it again because it's going to default to blue. So I'm just going to kind of keep going here, and I'm going to come around here, and you are just making up shapes. I won't have to keep changing it once I get set here. I don't know which one I picked, but we'll go with that one. Okay, so I'm going to come around here, and I'm just clicking. This is a very mindless, mindful, quiet kind of activity. I play a lot of music while students are working. I look up things like, in honor of our New York contingent here, there's a really cool YouTube station that's called New York Jazz, and I'll use that a lot. I don't play songs that have words to them. I just play songs that are quiet. Sometimes I'll look up piano music, things like that. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm just going around and I'm just clicking. And just keep going in as much as you want. If I want to switch and use the curve line tool, because this part below is kind of curve line, then go back to your shapes. To the left of the shape, go to the line area here, and I'm going to click curve. And it's the same thing. You're still clicking. I don't know if you've experimented with that, but you're still clicking. Okay. I'm surprised that didn't default to blue, by the way. It usually does. Now, if kids want to go back and add, I can never see where I am. If kids want to go back and add that kind of hollowed out shape inside of this, what I suggest they do is draw another shape on top. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute when I get there. So I'm going to just come around here. I'm going to go back behind here and go to here. Now, if I can get back to here. Now watch, I'm going to pick a different color. I'm going to go darker, and I'm going to move this to the back, but I got to move my photo to the back. You'll see what I'm doing in a minute. I'm not trying to confuse you. I wanted there to be a slight variation in that part. So kids were getting into that in my class. They were putting way more shapes on top of things. If you don't like something you've done, then you know you can click that shape. If I can get myself to click it, sorry, and I can delete it. Okay. So you just go around and fill that whole thing in. I've got to add a little bit more, I think, to this spoke. This, by the way, is a really good kind of beginner lesson for, and especially if a student has been absent. Like we have a lot of kids that are just gone for now, like forever. Yeah. And they come back in and they go, what are we doing? What have I missed? And you just like want to wring your hands and everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that this is done. Okay.
Jen said that the arms she thinks are called dendrites.
Oh, that could be. That would make sense. Thank you.
SAT word.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. I think I have one more piece I need to add here. Something's a little bit unbalanced on this side. That's going to be close enough. Okay, so look, when I am done with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get this picture out of the way. because I want to still be able to see it so I can kind of get the right, and I'm going to move it back in just a minute. I just slid it over with my finger rather than physically moved it so that it would still be lined up. Because a lot of times what kids will do is they'll move the picture and then they're like, everything's not lined up again. And then there's total panic. Okay, it's not funny, but I am laughing at this point. Okay, so now we've got these. So watch, just take your cursor or your keypad and just draw over the whole thing. And then I'm going to go to arrange and I'm going to go to group. So now that's going to travel as one group. Okay, so let me get my picture and I'm just taking my finger on the arrow and we're just going to slide this back over. And then this way you can see, oops, I'm a little off there. Wait, whoa, wrong direction. Okay, now I can see how many times I need to do this. The other thing is I'm going to go to view and I'm going to get out of 200% and go down to 100%. Now I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to click the shape that I just grouped, and you know the commands for copying and pasting. If they're on a Chromebook, it's Control-C, Control-V for victory is what I tell them. Mm-hmm. Mine's a Mac, so mine's Command-C, Command-V, but anyway. So I'm going to move this and we're going to spin it. You know, they have this little blue circle, so you're going to spin that. And I'm going to just slide this right next to it. And you just start to build this. Where's my little circle? There's my little circle. And I'm going to just start putting this in place. So again, Control-C, Control-V, and move this over. So this, honestly, I don't know what grades you all teach, but I would say that I bet you fourth graders could do this if it was a tad simplified, or depending on what you might already teach them. My fifth graders for sure could do this just because I know what I teach them. And for sixth graders, it was really a no-brainer, but they were happy with them. It wasn't so hard that they got frustrated. You know, so this is kind of how you build it. And then I'll show you after this, getting the picture out of the way, and then we'll make a gradient. And you can kind of, that's not quite lined up. There we go. The first time I did this, a lesson I learned, I don't know why I didn't think of this ahead of time, but I just deleted the whole picture and I thought, oh, I'll just put it together on my own. And then I was like, wait, how many of those dendrites are there? And it looked really goofy. And then I thought, well, okay, there's got to be a better way. So I figured this out. Okay, so we're almost in place here. That one's a little bit off, see? But imagine how hard this would be if you were using white, right? It's just a little tricky. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take that picture and bye-bye picture. And look, that it reminds me of that, the Polish cut paper. What is that called? Vishinaki or something like that. I'm probably not saying that right. Okay, so now I'm going to group this whole thing now. So I'm going to draw over it with my cursor and I'm going to go to arrange and I'm going to go to group. Okay, now we can play with colors. Okay, so you can keep it red. That's totally fine. You can also make it any other color you want to. So here's how I do a gradient. You might probably know this. You go to your fill box or fill, I call it paint bucket, and you're going to click it and we're going to go to gradient. And you can decide, I'm going to go to custom. You can decide if you want this to be linear or radial. Well, let's think about it. I always tell my students what makes the most sense. Is it going to radiate like the sun? Or is it going to be lines like mini blinds, you know? And they go, it's going to radiate. So you go to type, you go to radial, and each of this circle is your paint bucket right now. So I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to pretend I want this snowflake to have some purple. And I'm going to click add. This is going to add a stop. I want that to have blue inside. And I'm going to go to my last one. And maybe I want this to have white on it. I'm not sure. And then I'm going to click OK. So there's my snowflake. And then, wow. So it's really cool. And so then you can put a background on it. So I do a gradient background. I'm going to draw and cover this all up. Because I'm using my home computer, I don't have the ability to tap on my keypad to get a background to come up. If they have Chromebooks, you just tap and, you know, and the background option comes up. But me, I have to do this old fashioned. So I'm going to draw this. I'm going to get rid of the border. I'm going to go to arrange, order, and send it back. And I'm going to change that color. I don't like that color at all. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to gradient and I'm going to go to custom again. You could pick one that's pre-made, like there's dark, I think dark blue. It's not letting me click. Let me see. There's something with my computer. There we go. So that's kind of dark for this. So I might be tempted to do my own. So I'm going to go to custom. And again, you can experiment. Your first color, maybe I want, oh, I don't know. I'll pick this one. And then I'll add a stop and I'll pick purple. And then I'll go to the last one and I'll pick a blue. Ew, that's gross. But anyways, maybe not too bad, but I don't like that at all. So I would go back, you know, and this is kind of fun for the kids. I can say, can you, let's get rid of that. What if we make that darker? And then how does that change? That looks better. So that's how you do the snowflake. Again, it is easy, but you got to start with the photo. You do one at a time. Okay. And that's that one. And then that's that one. So I'm going to switch now to the holiday house. And the holiday house, I have to say, honestly, Steph, you're the one that started this last year, I think. You did that gingerbread house. And you posted it on. Yeah,
oh, I did the quilt square, I did.
You did something and I was like, oh, I love that. And so then I kind of went down that path. All right. So, all right. This is really fun. And my students have gone a little bit crazy on this one as well. Okay. And I'll show you how to turn this into a snow globe. So this is all Google Drawing again. And how we're going to start this one is I tell students to find a picture of the fanciest gingerbread house they can. They're not drawing on top of it. They're using it for inspiration. So I saw some magazine when I was standing in line at the grocery store, which is a whole nother story because we don't have enough people in our grocery store working and our lines trail around our entire grocery store. I don't know if that's happening to you, but I went in today and literally saw the line and put my basket down and walked out. And it had my favorite beer in it. Damn it. But anyway, didn't hear me say that. Okay, so we're going to search the web. And here's what we're going to search for. I am going to look for a gingerbread house photo and see what I can find. I don't know. Okay, go say look. All right. So I found one that was very lacy and it was just really lovely. And I don't know if I'll find it on here again, but it really helps to find something for inspiration because then you can get some ideas. Oh, look at this one down here. This one looks like it has water around it. I'm going to click this and see what happens. So again, they're not drawing on top of this. Okay, but I'm going to just grab a corner and bring this down and slide this off to the side as my reference, because this may give me some ideas. I really like that little area with the water around it. Okay, all right. So here's how I start this. They can use any tool they want, but the tool that I go to is under the shape category. And it is in the second column or second row, sorry. Next to the hexagon is the pentagon. Mm-hmm. And that's the shape that I'm going to draw this way. And I'm going to go to the paint bucket. And I tell them use the gradient. You don't have to make a gradient. If you click gradient, there's a perfect one for a gingerbread house. It's this one. And then I'm going to go to the border and I'm going to make this white rather than black. And then from there, I'm going to go right next to that is the border weight. And some of you may know that. I'm going to click border weight and I'm going to go, I want a bunch of snow on it. So I'm going to go up to 12. Now, here's what I tell students. Once you get that done, it's hard to see your white because of the white background. So I'm going to go ahead and put my background in now as a gradient. And again, they're using Chromebooks. They can just tap it to pull up the background function. I have to do this old school. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to go to gradient. And I'm going to go with, I could do a linear, but for now, it doesn't really matter so much. I'm just going to go blue. I'm going to arrange, order, send it back. Okay, now I can see what I'm doing. So this is just now a matter of putting pieces in place. So if you want a door, you can come on over here. And there is a really cool arch shape that some of you may have discovered. It's down towards the bottom, under shapes, go to the second row from the bottom. And it's over here, and it's called a flowchart delay. Like, what in the world? I just wanted an arch door. I didn't want this like flowchart delay, but that's what I got. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to draw like this, and it's sideways. So I'm going to spin it and I'm going to bring this down. It doesn't have to be an arch. I was just thought it was kind of fun to have an arch. And I'm going to make that color any color I want. Let's do a red door. I have like a delay on it's kind of interesting. Is that going to work? Let me see. It's really strange. I don't know if it's because it's recording or not, but I'm going to try again. Let me see. It won't let me. There we go. That's really strange. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the border and I'm going to make sure it's white. And I'm going to go to the point size and I'm going to go up to 12. So you just start building this way. I'm going to put in some windows and I'll show you how to add a little second part to it. I like to do, let me do this. I'm going to do a bar here. And I'm going to not have it be red. I'm going to have it be the gingerbread color. So it's a snowy balcony. And then I'm going to put windows on it. So, I mean, students go crazy doing this. And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to make the windows yellow. Okay, so I'm going to go there. Now, you know the copy and paste function. So Control C, Control V. And I'm going to move this over into place. And then I'll show you how to do the gumdrops and some of these other cool, and snow. I need to kind of inch that up a little bit. And come over here. Yeah, there's a slight delay on my computer right now. It could be because I'm sharing my screen. I'm not sure. It's okay though.
It could be the sharing and the recording.
Yeah, it's okay though. It's fine. We got this. Okay. All right. So there are my windows. And then let me show you about snow. That's not even, so that's going to bother me. So I'm going to group these, right? Because then I can move them around. Group. And now I can inch them over. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me show you snow and gumdrops, and then we're going to add on and add a few features, and then I'll show you Snow Globe Land. So gumdrops, here's what I discovered, and you might know this already. Go to the curve line tool. And the curve line, I'm going to make this really big over here in the sky so you can see it. I'm going to make like a giant gumdrop. And I'm going to make it no border. And I'm going to make it a gradient. And I'm going to make this one green. So then I'm going to move this. This is giant, but I'm going to make this a little gumdrop right here. I'm going to put it right along this little edge. I'm going to make it a little smaller. Okay. Now I'm going to copy and paste that. And I'm going to move it over and I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make this one purple. So this is where you can really get into things. And I will say too, I am at a public school. So I want all students to feel like they belong and are included. So that is why I often refer to things as a winter house, a winter cabin, and I kind of get away from anything related to Christmas. And that seems to have everybody enjoy doing this project. So I'm going to go yellow. So you can get a row of those and you can, so I can take these if you really want to click each one, go to arrange, go to group. And I can Control C, Control V, and I can move it up there. So you can get quite elaborate on this, okay? So let me show you snow. I'm going to come over here to the Polyline. And this is what I do for snow. It's pretty easy. Jagged. And some kids said, yeah, but it would fall off if it was like that. And I say, okay, well then how would you make it? And they go Polyline. And we have this big argument about curve line versus Polyline. Okay. So let's get rid of the border. Let's go to the fill bucket. We're going to make this white. And I'm going to then Control C, Control V, because I can flip this to the other side. I don't have to draw it all over again. So how do you flip? You go to Format Options, right up here. And then on the right, a drop-down menu appears and you click Size and Rotation. Go past all those numbers. I don't know what they mean. I don't really care what they mean. I'm going down to where it says Rotate. Go to Flip. And we say, are we going to flip side to side, or are we going to flip top to bottom? I'm going to go side to side. So that's a horizontal flip. So I'm going to go there. And now I'm going to scoot this over.
As
So
a
I'm
quick
just-
aside, if you wanted to add math, going back to the snowflakes,
Yes.
because you could tell it how the angle of the rotation and then copy and paste, you know, like if you know
Yeah.
that your snowflake has 8 spokes or 10 spokes or whatever it is, you can figure out, you know, the 360 and tell the rotation, and it'll rotate it specifically that number of degrees, and so that it's a perfect symmetrical, you know, right here in the same
Yeah.
column. Yeah. So just
Wow. See,
yeah.
that's advanced. That's advanced. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Okay. So here's what else I do. I go to the Scribble Tool and I make these I'm just drawing. And this is, of course, a lot easier to do with a mouse than just a keypad, but kids are getting really good at it. I'm going to go to white and I'm going to go make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So you don't have to make a zillion of those, just make one and then copy and paste it. So then I come over here and then I'm going to do this again. Okay. So let's say I want to have that on the other side of the door. I'm going to click and click, and I'm going to go arrange and group, and I'm going to do Control C, Control V. So a lot of this is copying and pasting. I'm going to flip it and scoot this over. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, except I got to flip it the other way. No, I don't. I got to flip this one the other way. This is going to bother me. That's got to go that way. There. Okay. Woo. All right. Okay. So now there's a few other things that we can do here. We can add a smaller building to this. So I'm going to go back up to my shapes. I'm going to get a pentagon again, and I'm going to build another one here. This is the same place, but I'm just going to kind of add this on, and I'm going to make this a little bit taller, and I'm going to scoot it over just a tiny bit and a tiny bit at the bottom. And I'm going to bring this up. So this is just, you know, if you want to have a second, like, hit the wrong thing. If you want to have a second building to your one gingerbread house, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make the border white. I'm going to make the point size 12. So now we've got a second one. And then what can you do? You could, sometimes I copy this whole group up here, but if you do that, watch what happens. When I bring this over here, if I bring this down in size, you can't even see anything because of that line weight, right? So that's not always the best thing to do. I can come over here though, and I can just bring that down, right? So if you missed that, what I did was I changed the border weight afterwards. I could take this and do the same thing. Bring this over, bring these down. I hit the wrong thing again. Sometimes you get so many shapes on here, you got to be careful which ones you're hitting. So I'm gonna bring this in a little bit, bring this in a little bit. Okay, so this gets kind of neat, nicky stuff, but you can do that. Okay, well, let's add a snowy ground. We're going to add some trees, and then we're going to put snow on it and turn in a snow globe for the grand finale here. So I'm going to use the curve line tool, and I'm going to come down here. I'm on the left side, and I'm just going to go all the way over here, and I'm going to come up, and I'm just going to make kind of a curve line. I'm going to go right at that house. I'm going to come up here, and I'm just clicking wherever I want to click. Okay, let's get rid of the border. Let's turn this white, and now we have some snow. Let me get out from that, and we'll see what we have so far. Okay, I'm going to add on to that. I'm going to add some trees and a pathway and some stones. So there's a really good, you can either draw your sidewalk as a curved line shape, or there is this, I call it the diving board shape. It's a trapezoid.
Mhm.
If you click it, start at the door and come all the way down here, get it to fit. Bring this out a little bit. And I'm going to get rid of the border, but I'm going to go to gradient and make this a gray. So maybe not that much, maybe a little bit less. That's a little bit better. Okay. So then from there, I tell students they can add like snow piles. So to add a snow pile, that's the curved line. And I'm going to put this over here. And I'm going to make this an off-white, kind of a lighter gray so that you can see it. And then I'll come over here. So this is just kind of playing around with shapes if they want to do that. They can also add trees. You only need one tree and then copy and paste it as many times as you want, I tell them, because they all go, I can't draw a tree. And I go, use the Polyline tool. Sure you can. So I'm over here on the right. I'm just going to make this jaggedy, jaggedy, jaggedy. I'm going to come over. It's not going to line up. It's going to be a goofy polyline tree. That's it. So I'm going to go to the fill bucket, gradient, green. Okay. That is too big, but I wanted to have something to work with. So I'm going to grab a corner, bring this down. Then you can just Control C, Control V, bring these around, move these over here. Okay, however you want to do that. Some kids freak out that they don't see the trunk of the tree. So add the trunk of the tree. That's totally fine. I'm going to use the Polyline and add some mountains. So sometimes I start over here on the right and I'm going to come down and sometimes I go down and do one at a time. That's fine. Or I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to go behind this house and come back here. Oops, there we go. I don't want it that color. I've got to move some things around. I'm going to make this, what happens if I make that blue? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to click that shape and I'm going to move it to the back. But then I'm going to have to, because mine's a fake background, I've got to click that and move that to the back too. There they are. Okay. So I can again take this, I can flip it, I can make different mountains, but just in terms of time, I'm going to get the same thing here. I'm going to move this back. And I got to do this again. Again, this is easier using a Chromebook. Okay. All right. So you can draw snow on top. This one, another little detail, you can use the Polyline and I can go here and make this. All right, I can make that white, get rid of the border, get rid of the fill bucket, turn it there. And again, you can copy and paste the same one and just make this fit by turning some of the edges. You can turn the shape, you can play around with this or make a whole new one. You know, it's totally up to you. Okay, so let me get this one over here. And I'm going to spin it a little bit. And I'm going to copy this one. And I'm going to bring it over here. And I can flip it or I can keep it like that. I can spin it. So depending on your age group would depend on how technical you want to get with this. Okay. Last of all, we can add some snow. So this is kind of a fun search. What I've found works the best is to search for snowflakes. If I can spell this right, there we go. Put an S on snowflake. I can spell once upon a time. Okay, and you're going to get some of these patterns. Some of these, the problem is they're not PNG. And I found one that was when I searched at school under snowflakes. If I go snowflakes PNG, let me see if that helps you out. Okay, so I'm going to click this and see what happens. I'm going to click it and I'm going to insert it. It may have a background. Oh, it didn't. Yay. Okay. So I can bring this down in size. And there's other things you could search for, like snow falling. Sometimes that helps too. Okay. But I want to work on this color. I don't like that gray. So I've opened up format options and I'm going to go to recolor. But underneath that, I'm actually going to not recolor. So I'm going to go to adjustments. And I'm going to pull some of these brightness. See, that's darker. That's lighter. Let's see if I can get that to be white. Okay, if I get one that I like that, I'm going to Control C, Control V, and I'm going to move this over. And if it gets in the way of things, just make it smaller. So again, kids can control that, okay, by how much snow they want to have on there. All right, when this is all finished, what I do is I save this as a PNG file. So I'm going to go File, Download, PNG, or it really doesn't matter. JPEG is fine too. Either one is fine. I've just gone against myself here. So that's going to save on my computer. Okay, and again, it's taken a little while. Mine's a little bit of a delay. And I don't know if you can see my screen. Sometimes it doesn't show you when I'm sharing my screen what I'm doing, but I just clicked OK, it's saving it in my downloads. So once you get that done, so here was one of mine. Okay, you're going to take that design and we're going to mask the shape so that it's a round shape, so that I can turn it into that or that. Okay, so how I did that was, come over here. Actually, I can do it with this one. This will be easier. I'm going to select all and I'm going to group it. This is easier than waiting for my computer to figure out where I am. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to open up a new file. Okay. And I'm going to paste it. We'll see if it'll let me do this. My computer is getting very slow right now, so bear with me. We'll see if this works. It's thinking. It's thinking if it really wants to give me that snow house or if I'm going to find my one on my computer. Either way, there's a tool. I heard it make some sound, so it may be thinking about it. Is that it over there? Let me see. I don't know if I can, it's not coming up, but we'll see. It's thinking. Oh, there it is. Look at that. It's right. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So let me make sure I pulled up my one. It just took a while to find it. I'm going to make sure it's on my desktop and I'll show you the official way here. And then we'll run into candy bars here if we have time. So I have had students do zillions of these, by the way, while I'm waiting for this to happen. Can I do another gingerbread house? Can I do a holiday house? Can I put mine in the mountains? Can I put mine in the desert? Can I put my, I mean, they've just like gone for it. Do I have to have that? No, I'm like, no, do whatever you want to do. Okay, so that is on my computer. So what I do then is I come here and I'm going to upload from the computer, because when you upload an image, then you will be allowed to mask the shape. And I don't know if you can see my screen right now. Can you see that I'm opening up my recent file? I don't know if you can or not.
Yes.
Okay. Who knows what I have on there? I honestly, at this point, I don't know. I've done so many Google drawing things. There may be like 5,000 things you see here, but so while this is loading, here's what I do with grading these, by the way. I just have an extra choice activity file, and I'm sure you may do something similar. We're using Canvas still. So I just throw them in there and I say, you can submit as many as you want. And I have everything worth a certain number of points. And then I just add it to their grade. Okay, so there's my image I've input. And I don't know if you know about masking a shape or not, but if you look right above where it says replace image, just to the left, it'll say mask image. And then there's a crop image. We don't need to crop it necessarily. I could crop it square. It would become a better circle, but I don't go into that with my students. It's just a little bit maybe technical for them. So I go to mask image, I go to shapes, I go to that first oval shape, they call it, but I'm going to crop, I'm going to bring it in. And this is when it's going to get a little bit skewed. It's not going to look necessarily perfect because I didn't have a square shape to start with. If I'd made it a square shape, it would have more been easier to pull into this circle shape. So I'm just grabbing corners. And I tell students, if they are worried about the shape, a way to check it is go to the shapes and get a circle. Sorry, get the oval shape, put your finger on the shift key, hold it down and draw. Okay. I can compare this now and see where I'm off. Okay. And then I'm going to delete wherever I'm going to delete the light blue circle. Okay. So I'm going to go bye-bye. Okay, so here we are. Now, what I do is I'll go to this one that I've done already. I used the curve line tool and I made this sort of fake shadow on the side. And then I made a base and then I did a gradient background. So what that looks like is use the curve line tool. And hi, Laura, somebody entered the waiting room. Okay, anyway.
I got them.
These things pop up. Okay, so I'm just clicking around on the edge here and I'm clicking and I'm clicking and I'm clicking and I'm clicking. And I tell students to think about a little sliver of the moon. Any of you that teach older kids, you can go at it however you want to explain this to them. But I get something sort of like that. I get rid of the border and I'm going to make that transparent. So to make a fill bucket transparent, don't hit transparent, that makes it empty. You've got to go to the plus sign. Then you get this dial, this sliding scale. Okay. So this is kind of a good way to kind of fake a little edge to it. And I'm going to pull that. It bothers me when things don't line up right. So that's pretty good. That's pretty close. Okay. All right. So that's hanging over a tad now. So now I got to fix that part. Okay. All right. And then last of all, I add a base. So the base, I'm going to use the Polyline tool. I had a student say, could I make mine an ornament instead of a snow globe? And so she looked up an ornament top and used a Polyline to make an ornament top. And then the gradient works really well to make it look gold. I'll show you that in a sec if you want me to. So here we go.
That's a great idea too.
Yeah, so curve line. So I just make this up. I'm just curving along the bottom. And this is not going to be a symmetrical shape, heaven forbid. I'm all about some of this symmetry sometimes. So there we go. I'm going to get rid of the border color and I'm going to go to the paint bucket. I'm going to make this like a dark brown, maybe. I'm getting a little delay again. There we go. And I'm going to click the shape, arrange, order, send to the back. Okay. I sometimes use the the curve line tool, and I will draw these little edges. It just depends on how much detail you think your kids can handle. And those of you with middle grades or even older grades, man, really have them go for it. Like I don't want to lose my students. I like their exuberance at this stage of the game. So I just kind of let them do however they want to go, whatever they want to do. I don't want to make it so complicated for them, I guess is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so last of all, we can put in a background that's a gradient, and then I'm going to show you the ornament idea because that's very fun. And I know, Steph, you're going to have this ornament. I know you're going to probably send me some message of some super cool ornament. I can't wait to see. All right, I'm going to make the border transparent. I'm going to go to gradient and I'm going to pick this dark blue, order, send it back. Okay. And that's basically how that is done. The ornament idea, let me get out from here and let me take this and move this down. So here's what, I should have grouped it. Okay. Here's what she did. She took a tool, I think she used the Polyline, and she went over here and she went here and she went here. This is very easy. And I'm going to push it to the back in a minute. She got rid of this. She went to the fill bucket and she picked this gold color. And then again, I have to double do this. I normally would just have a background in there. And then she took the line, she drew lines on it like it was kind of, how those are. Yep. Indented a little bit, put a little hook at the top. I mean, super fun, super fun.
Wow. So clever.
So those are those two. And I know I probably talked really super fast. By the way, so they can input a stained glass window here. That's what this blue thing is. I did not make that. I did a search, same with that little round one. Mm-hmm. I did a search, I put a chimney. Okay. So I hope those inspire you all out there. Do we have time? Do you want me to show you the candy bar one? Does anybody
want to see half an hour. We have half an hour.
Oh, good. Do you guys want to see candy bar?
Yeah, man.
And there's also burnout fabric. Did I show you burnout fabric? I know I posted it on Note K-12.
You posted it.
Yeah, burnout fabric's a runaway train right now. I have students doing burnout fabric Okay, let me show you a candy bar though. Okay, so this
that's so
happened at Halloween. And you could do this anytime you wanted, because guess what? Valentine's Day will be coming up, right?
Mhm.
So this is, you make one candy bar and then you just group it and you copy and paste it and turn them. So this is a little tricky because I did all of this using Google Drawing, the lettering and everything. But if you, this middle school kids for sure could do this, for sure. Okay. This was very difficult. This was almost my epic fail because Reese's is script. Okay. These are sans serif, which is a lot easier to do in terms of font. So here's how I did this one. You can probably figure out how I started this. I did an image search and I looked up candy bars. Okay. I didn't even know which one I wanted to do first. I just thought I want one that I can figure out the lettering of candy bars. Okay, so there's Baby Ruth, there's Snickers, there's Twix. I did Twix too. Twix is a really good one because, and the funny thing is I don't even eat candy really, but Twix is fun to do because look at that lettering, right? So I only did one bar and then I looked at this arrangement. Okay, so this real briefly here, you can figure this one out. I started with the background shape and then I put the lettering on top. So you would go to either Polyline or Curveline or a combination of the two. So I'm going to use Polyline. I'm focusing on this one that's sideways here. And all I'm doing is I'm clicking the outside kind of silhouette, if you will, for lack of a better terminology, the candy bar wrapper. And sometimes I get very fancy and try to do the zigzaggy stuff, but that's hard to do with the Polyline tool. So there's my shape. I didn't do it. It looks like a weird flashlight. So I get rid of the border. I go here and I'm going to go to gradient, and that might be pretty good. That might be a little better. It just kind of depends. You could make your own gradient. Okay. Now, then though, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring my photo, onto the front. And I'm writing on top of the photo, on top of my candy bar wrapper. Okay. So you're working in a lot of layers when you're doing this. This is why this can be a little bit harder. I'm going to bring this to the front. Okay. Then I go back and I use whatever tool makes the most sense for the font. I'm working on the T right now. And the good thing about this one is the border's white on the Twix bar. I'm going to go to the point. So some of these just inherently work better. I'm going to make it a gradient red. So there's the T. So you go through each one and then you can see here, if I go back to this photo and if I just remove this photo for a minute, it's going to take a minute. So that's what I have so far. And you just go back and keep working on that design. You just keep going back and see what I did here. I kept pulling the photo forward and working in layers and added that little swoopy line. And I added the little reflection line and I added the candy bar line. And then that one that you see here, the front one, is the only one I made. You group everything, you save it as a PNG, and then you just add it. And then the background, I looked up glitter. Glitter was I looked up a gold glitter background.
Wow.
So that was really, really fun. I did a whole bunch of those. I don't know if they're all up on here, but I can search candy bar. Okay, I'm showing you top secret information. Yeah, here. Okay, my Heath bar was really fun. I really liked my Heath bar.
Wow, what great colors.
That was really fun. And the font is a little bit goofy here because I made the Heath and then I typed, but my E is a little bit off on that one. I never fixed the E in the English toffee bar.
Who cares? It's amazing.
I know. So that was really, really fun. So those have been super good. Other things I can kind of open up here and show you. Let me show you burnout fabric.
This is a message from Kelly that I have to read. It says, let me go down. Says, I finally have clean hands to type this message. The entire time you worked on the gingerbread houses, I was cutting out and baking gingerbread cookies. It was like I could smell your art. That's amazing.
That is so wonderful. I
Fantastic.
love that. I love that. So here's what happened. A funny thing happened. I'm always trying to come up with new things to do with Google Drawing. And the bottom line is sometimes it doesn't have a whole lot of deep content. Sometimes it just doesn't. I mean, you know, but that's okay because I embed all of my lessons with some art history. And I always introduce an artist to things as much as I can. So I don't want to bore kids with a lot of blah, 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 blah stuff in the art classroom. And I know there's differing philosophies on all of that. I want them to get in and get started. But so this is one of those get in and get started. All right, somebody gave me a scarf a bunch of years ago that's a burnout fabric, and it's beautiful and it's black, and the burnout part and then the leftover fabric is like a velvety. And then I have a couple burnout t-shirts. So I just thought, wouldn't this be fun to try to do this? So the kids were working on something and I was back here madly like using the curve line shape to see what could I do. And I have a parapro in that room who is just phenomenal. She is so cool. And I said, does this look like burnout fabric? She's like, yeah, I've got a t-shirt like that. So I talked to my students. I said, do you know what burnout fabric is? And they don't know. And so then I say, well, the idea is that you're not seeing the full fabric and it kind of becomes a little bit of mesh and a little bit of transparency. And then I say to them, so if you do just black line shapes, and I tell them we're using 3 tools. I have found limiting tools in Google Drawing is going to give you better results than just saying, let it be a free for all. It depends. Well, it depends on your assignment. So for this one, I go, you get 3 tools. You can use the line tools and the scribble tool, and you can use a circle. I don't know why. I just limited it. I think because I had in my mind a certain look I was going for. Okay. So you make this, and then you save this as a PNG so that it has a clear background. Okay. So I'm going to just make a copy of this for you, just so I can add to and not mess up that one necessarily. They don't have to save it as a PNG. What I discovered was, but how I had them do it was save as a PNG because I didn't want it to get all messed up. Okay. So I then take the background tool, and again, I have to cheat because I'm on my computer. So I'm going to draw a background, and I'm going to get rid of the border, and we're going to add a cool gradient. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go custom, and I tell them this must be radial, right? So we're going to go to radial. And if you want this to really seem like flashy, dramatic, dynamic, pick a bright color in the middle. So I'm going to go with yellow. I'm going to add a stop. I'm going to go with orange, and I'm going to go to the end, and I'm going to go to red. And then I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to move this to the back. And then you have this cool thing. It's just super duper easy. You can have them do stitch lines rather than that. This took my students 1 class period. Okay. So, I mean, 40 minutes, because I introduced it for 10 minutes and then off they went, and away they went. I have some really cool examples from students. I don't have any on. Oh, wait, I do have one I can show you. Wait a minute. I can pull one in because I think I put it on my computer last night. We're pulling stuff for art shows, student art shows, and district art shows. And I'm very tempted to put this burnout in there if I can pull it up. So this gets to people that have trouble manipulating the drawing tools actually on this one. Here it is. And this girl gives the appearance that she hates being in art. And look at what she put together. Isn't that kind of neat? So that's kind of cool.
Really nice.
She's somebody who half the time looks like she's asleep and half the time rolls her eyes and half the time she could care less. But look at what she did. Isn't that lovely? So that's that one. What else? I don't know what's in the chat box. I could look. What do you all want to know?
Anybody, yeah, anyone have questions?
I've done Marimiko. I've done a Marimiko fabric if nobody has any questions. This is my new one. Marimiko. So Marimiko happened because I love the fabric, and I've been researching Marimiko as a company. And I don't have a whole lot of info yet on this one to have my students do. But the two main designers did such cool things in the 50s and 60s. And they did these like picnic fabrics that were all the rage, with especially the well-to-do women in the Hamptons and all of these things. They wore these like kind of garish fabric clothing. And it's been on my mind for a long time. I've been thinking about this Marimiko fabric, and I thought, how can I do it? And so this one, again, my sixth graders could easily do. You're drawing on, you make one. So let me come back over here. You make one design. You just make one, and then you download it as a PNG. And I realized, if I'm doing an orange slice, that there's similar other fruit that have similar looking slices with different colors, like a lemon, like a grapefruit, like a lime. So this is one where you could just, it kind of is ready to become a pattern. And this also made me think of Warhol's flower silk screens. My background is graphic design. In high school, I took silk screening classes, all of that this was way pre-computers. I'm old, folks. I just turned 60. So this was all by hand stuff. So I think it's kind of interesting that now my career is kind of circling back here. And now I'm doing a lot more graphic design type work. So this has been fun. Strawberries, you could do cherries, you could do, have at it. They could do pineapples. Marimiko fabric is just amazingly cool. So these were my strawberries. I'm not necessarily that wild about them. I think the seeds need to be darker, but this was a flower. I did one flower, and then I just changed up the color. So just fun, why not, right?
Yeah, these are great.
We
have a question.
Yeah.
If somebody mentioned avocados, those are all the rage.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Anne asks if you have done any 1 or 2 point perspective.
I have not. And I don't even teach 1 and 2 point perspective in my classroom, just because of my schedule with rotations. But maybe I'll put that on my springtime list of things to do. I'm not opposed to it at all. I think it could definitely work.
I'm actually moving into that unit when we come back from vacation. So I was going to do it the old fashioned way, paper and pencil, but I'm thinking I could give them the choice of whether they wanted to do it digitally or traditionally.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever they're comfortable with, you could achieve the same thing.
And you know what? And that's what I did with the winter house on my winter choice board. They could draw it or by hand. In fact, I think on that snowflake, the winter house, I don't know how I have this in there as an option. I don't think I have it on here like this. I had a choice board where, I don't know if this will pull it up either. I don't know. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. This is my other problem. I never know what I've titled anything anymore. So, okay. So this is what I gave them as a choice board. Okay. So the winter house on the right, Google Draw on the left. I said, you're not making a sign that says, hello, winter. You could, but that was just my placeholder. So they could use paper and pencil and draw a winter scene. Okay. Then I included the one about the snow globe. And then for those that didn't want to do any of that, I included my old Zentangle pages.
Oh,
at this stage of the game, isn't it like throw as much as you can? You know what it is? It's David Letterman's Velcro wall, right? Which is like just throw it up, whatever sticks. If they like it, we go.
I had a kid today who asked me, and I almost lost my mind. He has been sitting in class for a month doing what was supposed to be an intro practice exercise for grid drawing, right? So I had set up cartoon characters under a grid so they would replicate it in a larger grid. He's been doing that for a month and stalling and doing nothing. It was supposed to be a lead-in for a Lego project that I did where the kids build their own tiny little build, photographed it themselves. I printed it out, and then I threw a grid over it on acetate, and they were going to draw their build through the grid method. So he asked me today, the project is due tomorrow, by the way, the colored in redrawn Lego photo, right? He says, can you give me something else to do? And I said, first of all, I gave them the option if they were giving up, like tortured on the grid drawing of the Legos, I offered them, make me a gingerbread house for the contest. You know, that's your swap.
Right.
He says, well, how about something else? I said, how about you do what you're told? Because you've now wasted an entire marking period on a practice exercise and have done nothing else. So you're out of choices. And this is not mom's restaurant where you get to choose what's on the menu.
Yeah.
I really almost lost my mind.
Yeah, I know.
And he's
I know.
not, and they're not even phased a little bit. Like, how much more bending over backwards do you want me to do?
Right. Oh, I know. I know. It's crazy. I know. I will just say this, and I'm happy to show you more things. I honestly have found more creative results from students using Google Drawing at my 5th and 6th grade level than I have in some of the more traditional lessons I've always done. And I don't know right now if it's because kids have been, you know, that out of school for the last year and a half, and they were kind of at home and we were trying to teach virtually and all of that. Right. They're better with technology. They're not as good with drawing. So I'm still making sure that I do hit drawing assignments because that is also an important skill. I'm not saying one over the other. I'm just kind of varying it. I am now challenging myself to every project I do traditionally, I turn into a digital design, not for my students to do, but for me to do. Because last year, not knowing what was going to happen, I've always done like a Stuart Davis jazz collage out of construction paper, scissors and glue. And this was my Google Drawing version of it.
I remember that. I really like that. Yeah.
So these are things I just teach myself because I just, you know, it's like, how can I get better for my kids if I, you know, so if you're newer to this, honestly, I wish I could find my very first Google Drawing I tried to do. I thought, why do people like this? Because I kind of hate it. And I just kept, all of a sudden it dawned on me, you know, all of a sudden something just like kind of clicked overnight. Here's a good one to start with. And I know I've posted these before and I don't want to bore you with these things, but, you know, having this one. So this was based on, if I can open, well, I don't know if I can open that one. That might be
your Notons are awesome too.
Yeah. So those I've done, these have been, yeah, it's so, I don't know what I'm opening. I guess I'm opening. Well, this was from our Region 3 show. Yeah. Okay. So that was Notan last year, this student. I taught them how to take their photograph and draw on top of it. This was the least successful kind of, because they don't like their photograph. And then they want to make their face look beautiful. Yeah. They have a really hard time drawing their nose because they think it looks ugly. And I tell them, no, just like, you know, so I try to get through that. You know, this is one of those kids like you were talking about, Steph.
Yeah.
Sits back, does nothing. His father, you don't see his name up there. You don't see his last name. His father is a teacher in my district.
Oh gosh.
It does nothing. But then he comes out with this. And that's really cool based on what the assignment was. And then I know you've all seen the mosaics, so you're probably mosaic to death. But Those are good ones. The abstract color compositions, these are so fun to do.
Mhm.
Pick a color theme, switch it, play with the stitching tools. You know, I do an intro on abstract art.
Mhm.
Helen Frankenthaler is a good one, you know. So
This is what inspired me. Oh, you showed your stitched heart collage, and then I went over the deep end and did digital quilting with
uh-huh.
it. I lost my mind on that one. I loved it.
Well, and I lost my mind on the still life fruit collage. This
Yeah.
one got me crazy this year. This one made me insane, and I don't even know if I can find it on here now. It was it was based on, no, I can't find it. It was based on G's Bend, the quilts of G's Bend.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, okay.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh my God, this one made me crazy. So what I wanted students to do was learn how to make a quilt digitally. And these are 12 different students' quilts that I put together in one quilt.
I
And in
love
the
it.
center, they did a still life fruit drawing using Google Drawing. I'll go bigger on this so you can see. These are all students in 5th grade. Did I lose you? No, wait, here we go. I think you'll see in a minute.
They remind me of kente cloth.
Yes. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So I showed them some of the quilts of G's Bend
Mhm.
after they did the still life one in the middle. And the still life one, I just had them find a Google search image of fruit in a bowl. And they drew on top of it. Look at this one on the right, this one in the middle on the right, that blue background. Look at that. I don't know if it's a boy or girl, but the gradient they use, right? They're using gradients to fill them in.
They're perfect.
This was really super fun. And this was a fluke. This was one of those where I kind of made it up like the first hour class. Did you ever do this?
Yes.
Did you ever do this? Like first hour, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. In my head, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Then we're going to do this. And then the second hour, I'm like, oh, then it all comes together the second hour, but the first hour is done it anyway. So this is one of those that became, you know.
We've all done that, planning the 15 minutes before class, what we're going to do today. And
I know.
it's either an epic fail or an epic success. There's like no in between when you do it last minute.
I know. I always tell my art teacher friends, I always say, decide which art lesson you're going to fall in love with for the next week or whatever your thing is. And I'll drive to work and I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling David Hockney, or I'm feeling, you know, you go through your list and it's like, what am I gonna, you know, today I was feeling control, man. I don't know about you guys. So op art, oh, not gop art. This is what I'm having them do now. I'm having them create Google Drawing op art. They love it. This was one of mine. So I have them, we look at op art, we look at some Bridget Riley, and I just have them make something, just so I like, they look at, they're not copying on top of anything. And this is fun. This is a challenge for the 6th graders, but this is like the information that I show them. You guys know all the stuff about Bridget Riley, but you know, I go through this. We talk about how that changes from squares to rectangles. This is perfect for Google Drawing.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm giving them an option because some kids want to draw. So, but I probably went way over, and I was talking about more than you all probably needed to know.
No, we are actually at 8 minutes. Oh my God, my brain. 8:26. Does anybody have any questions? This has been chock full of amazing information. And again, with all the craziness going on and you with your doctorate thesis and all of this stuff, like, I really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Thank you again for doing that.
Anytime. I tell you what, I presented a workshop, I don't know, a month or two ago, and I called it the endless possibilities of Google Drawing, because it really, really is. I'm not hired by Google to do anything, all of you people out there to know.
We were talking about that too.
It's just something that I like to do, and it's relaxing for me. And this is a very stressful world. It's
Yeah.
not getting any less stressful. This is how I relax. I'm a puzzle solver. I like to do 1,000-piece puzzles too.
Oh, boy.
So it kind of makes sense. Maybe I'm kind of weird that way. But our kids are grown. So my son and daughter are 23 and 24. So I have more time than some of you with young kids.
Mhm. I
But
love, that citrus image is so sunshiny and happy. I loved it. The first minute I looked at it when you posted it, I'm like, oh my God.
thank
I
you.
would
And
find
this,
that on my kitchen wall because it's
I
just so
know,
fun.
but but when you look up Marimekko fabric, it's like, I don't own any Marimekko fabric. I like IKEA. And I just started thinking, I like that bold fabric. Some things translate so well to Google Draw.
I think I
So
saw, it was on scarves and stuff, right? Silk scarves painted. I believe I saw an exhibit at the Museum of Art and Design in Manhattan where they did an exhibit on the silk screening
mhm,
of these images on the silk scarves, and it was interesting. I mean, it was very, at the time, it was garish. A lot of
mhm,
the things were
yeah,
like just so ginormous, like
yeah,
out of proportion.
yeah,
So, but there's an appreciation, it was an exhibit on craft and
mhm,
and craft of the 60s, and it went with the fashion of the 60s and all of the crazy stuff that happened in the 60s.
yeah.
But it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's fun to, so when I get an idea, I get like kind of crazy. So I was looking up Marimekko, and first of all, I couldn't even remember the name of it. I'm like, it's Mari something. And so I just kept searching. I was like, Mari fabric. I could not come up with the name of it. And when you do a search, when you go to their images, you'll just find so much. Sorry, it's going to take a while, but
That's okay.
so when you go to images, these, like look, this is
Yeah.
just ripe for Google Drawing. I mean, this is just, to me, this just like screams, because it's silkscreen. And all you need to do is go into some of the history about the Mari. So look, it's a finished textile. So this
You
is
just
what's
gave me an idea. I'm thinking it's great for Google Draw, but how about linoleum cutting and printing?
for sure. And that's a great idea. And it makes me think of Andy Warhol's flowers so
Mhm.
much. So
Yeah.
anyway, look them up. This is what gave me a ton of inspiration. I just love finding new things. And it's not like I'm the first person to find these things. I'm just having fun finding them, you know?
It's
So
like
now,
a black hole of word association, and we all end up falling into this hole with a million ideas and having to decide how to apply it.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
why these
Mary
groups are
Mecco is for,
awesome. Yeah,
sorry.
that's why these groups are awesome, because this is where our ideas come from. And
yeah.
yeah. Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you to
Welcome.
everyone who, during this crazy 2 weeks, who came and joined us
Yeah.
this evening. I appreciate your support and your continued participation with us. And I'm not going to have another session till January. I'm going to take a couple of weeks and just chillax, and I hope you all do the same. And then we'll come back and do some more amazing stuff. But I hope you all stay safe and have a blessed and peaceful and love and family filled holiday.
And don't go yet. I'm just throwing my email in here. If any
Okay.
of you do cool things, email me. I'd love to see them, or post them on OK12 or wherever. Yeah, because why not? I mean, I figure the more we share, that's why I share so much, right? Because the more we share, the more people get inspired, and the more people, just like you, Steph, you show something, and then it gives somebody else an idea to do something else. And that's how we gain our own confidence. But I think that's also how we build each other up, but we build our community as art educators. I'm not in it for me, I mean, like I said before, I'm old. I'm not doing it for me. I do it because it's fun. I guess I do it for me, but I do it for my students. So thank you, everybody. I hope I didn't talk you to tears, and I hope I gave you some good ideas.
Not at all. I look forward to this every time we do it. And there are times when it's like, oh God, this day's never ending and I have to come home and do more clubbing online. But you know what? I feel so much better after we're all together. It's inspiring. And thank you for your community here. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Steph. Everybody have a really good vacation, and we'll get back on it in January 2022.
Yes, absolutely. Happy
Thank you.
and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks, Steph.
Bye. Thanks.
I'll stop sharing. Sorry.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Time for dessert beer is what I say. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.